Six Lancers in 1965 war. This is a part of the book Pakistan Army Tank Regiments in 1965 war and covers all tank regiments of Pakistan Army and their actions in 1965 war. Six Lancers was raised in 1857 and was a recce regiment in Second World War, where it saw action in Iraq, Persia, and Italy. The regiment had 75% Punjabi Muslims and 25% Pashtuns in 1965 war. At the time of creation of Pakistan, it was an armored car regiment. In 1965, the regiment held M47 tanks, which were older than M48, and this was the reason why the regiment was transferred to 11 Division and replaced by 24 Cavalry. The regiment was considered to have a weak officer lot, barring few exceptions like Captain Farhat. This assertion is based on the scribe's interviews with various Armored Corps old-timers like Brigadier Zade Khan and Colonel Sami from 19 Lancers, 24 Cavalry and 29 Cavalry. Zade Khan mentioned this fact in writing his book, The Way It Was. On page 189 of the book, 1998 edition, Zade Khan stated that six Lancers became paralyzed and leaderless after its commanding officer Sahibzad Gul was shot dead by an Indian rifleman, possibly a sniper. When this happened, the regiment's second in command, Major Ilahi Bakhsh Khan, and all squadron commanders had cold feet, according to Zade Khan, who I interviewed in February 2002. Major Ilahi Bakhsh Khan and the squadron commanders, in a state of shock, as Zade Khan narrated, based on his conversations with various officers, refused to take charge of the situation. Then Major Sami of 24 Cavalry, who was present when 6 Lancers' first tank fell into the BRB Canal, and its leading squadron commander, Major D.M. Utra, was drowned, specifically stated by Sami, who saw it, recollected in an interview with the scribe that 6 Lancers was demoralized right from 7 September morning when the Utra incident occurred. Now we will discuss the 6 Lancers' conduct in detail in 1965 war, and as you can see, 6th Lancer was transferred from 1st Armored Division to the newly raised 11th Division on 8th June 1965. The regiment was in Kasur when war started and was grouped under command 5 Armored Brigade on 5th September 1965. 5 Armored Brigade was placed under command 11th Division to form a bridgehead. The regiment was supposed to lead the 5 Armored Brigade advance across the BRB Canal and Rohi Nala into India. The regiment's leading tank fell from the BRB Canal bridge into the BRB Canal, and all crew members except one drowned, including the tank commander, Major Dos Muhammad Utra. Major Sami of 24 Cavalry, who was present at the BRB, described 6 Lancers officers present on the site as deeply traumatized and shocked. The unit refused to cross the bridge after this incident. Major Sami decided on his own to take the 24 Cavalry Squadron he was commanding across the bridge after the earmarked leading squadron commander of 24 Cavalry, Major Sher Altaf, refused to go across. Recently published Engineers History of Pakistan Army also vindicates this fact. The history on page 167 stated that when 6 Lancers, first tank, fell into the BRB canal, the regiment refused to use the bridge. This confirms Sami's assertion that 6 Lancers officers had cold feet. Engineers history further stated that 6 Lancers was then directed towards Phatu Khanna Siphon. Another incident of the regiment's gross lack of professionalism was mentioned in the same engineers history, which is the official history of Pakistan Army Engineers, on pages 166 and 167, that one of the tanks of 6 Lancers stalled on the Rohinala bridge. Naturally, this caused a crisis situation. On inquiry by commanding officer 6 Lancers, it was discovered that the tank had no petrol in its tank. As discussed earlier, 24 Cavalry Squadron Commander, commanded by Major Sami, led the advance on 7 September as 6 Lancer dragged its feet on 7 September 1965. On 8th and 9th September 1965, 6 Lancer advanced on the Indian south flank till Valtoha railway station and returned after last light to Khemkaran. As per the British tank doctrine of Leaguer, after last light in the rear, also followed in the Pakistan Army. It was on 9 September that 6 Lancers commanding officer was shot by rifle fire and the unit's morale totally collapsed. By 10th September 1965, the unit was reduced to 21 tanks and was earmarked as reserve to follow 24 Cavalry, which attacked Asaluttar. When 1st Armored Division was redeployed at Chavinda, 6 Lancers stayed at Khemkaran, grouped with 5FF in its defensive position, and did repulse many Indian attacks. But that was all Indians and Pakistanis were good at: defense, a much simpler form of warfare and an inferior form of warfare requiring less dynamism and grey matter. Gallantry awards. 6 Lancer was awarded 2 Sitara Jurats, 2 Tamgha Jurats, 4 Imtiazi Sanads. They lost 20 men. The regiment received much publicity due to the heroic death of its commanding officer. But this was not a success like whole 1st Armored Division, which performed miserably. Valtoha, where the regiment advanced for 2 days, offered a possible opportunity to outflank the Indians' 4 Mountain Division and achieve a breakthrough, but 1st Armored Division was too dumbly and badly led and missed this opportunity. Major Sami of 24 Cavalry described Captain Farhat of 6 Lancers as the only bright star in 6 Lancers, full of elan and dash, but Farhat was too junior to make a mark or turn the tide. Lieutenant General Mahmood in his book makes a rather false statement that Pakistanis missed an opportunity and there was nothing in front of 6 Lancers. The harsh fact is that the Indians had brought the Independent Armored Brigade in action on 8th September, and both the flanks of the 4 Mountain Division were well plugged from both sides, the left and the right flank. And in any case, the area in front of Valtoa was very, very boggy. And lastly, Pakistanis and Indians were very weak in operational strategy, which has been described as modification of plans when the pressure of battle totally disturbs and fails the original plan. This, as you can see, is Captain Farhat of 6 Lancers, a real hero from Jhelum district in Pakistan and an outstanding man, much praised by Colonel Sami. This is Captain Farhat 6 Lancers as a major. He later raised 52 cavalry on 7th August 1973. This is Colonel Sahibzad Gul, 6 Lancers, killed in action on 9 September 1965. This is Major Dost Muhammad Utra, 6 Lancers, drowned in the BRB Canal on 7th September morning. Now we will discuss the situation on the map. As you can see, this is the map illustrating the crossing operations of 5 Armored Brigade and 1st Armored Division into India. As you can see, this is the main bridge across the BRB Canal where Major Utra's tank drowned, and the unit then refused to cross by this bridge. Engineers diverted the unit to Pattu Kunha siphon from where the unit crossed. As you can see, here is the situation depicted on the map at the time when Major Utra drowns as his tank falls into the BRB Canal. 6 Lancers, 3 squadrons leading, followed by 3 squadrons of 24 cavalry. As you can see clearly, 3 squadrons, 24 cavalry in the rear, 6 Lancers in the front. Now this is the Pattu Kunna aqueduct through which the engineers diverted the unit to cross. But it has to be noted that Sami, that indomitable Rangad from Sona village in Gurgaon, he decided on his own to cross the BRB and successfully crossed the BRB. And interestingly, the leading squadron commander of 24 cavalry, Sher Altaf, refused to cross. This incident is confirmed by General Mahmood in his book. So it is very, very genuine and credible. And Mahmood did note that one of the squadrons of 24 cavalry, which was Sami, crossed the BRB mysteriously. Mahmood is non-committal. He doesn't want to say anything. He is a diplomat basically, and he is not a blunt man. But anyhow, this is the map illustrating the situation. This is another map. As you can see, this is the short history of the Corps of Engineers, which has spilled the beans, narrating the incident about Pattu Kunha Bridge diversion. As you can see, Armored Regiment supposed to lead main attacks. Tank stopped on the BRB Canal Bridge. There was no fuel in the tank, according to the short history of the Corps of Engineers. Immense confusion was caused in recovering the tank, and finally it was discovered that it had no fuel. History of the Corps of Engineers, Pakistan Army. I may narrate a personal reminiscence here. My father was commanding the 4 Corps Engineers in 1977, the first officer in the history of engineers to be promoted direct brigadier from lieutenant colonel. And General Iqbal was the corps commander. And Iqbal asked my father to conduct a study period about this incident, which caused great delay in the 1st Armored Division advance of many hours, I think over 15 hours. And according to my father's research and the presentation he delivered, a crane had to be brought from Lahore and this tank was removed. But short history of the Corps of Engineers mentions a more clear version about the tank's fuel being finished. But the Corps of Engineers history does admit that this tank's stopping caused immense confusion in the situation. As you can see, this again is the map. As you can see, one engineer battalion had made a class 50 bridge on Koiwala at Rohinala. So this is the 6th Lancers operations on morning of 8th September. As you can see, they reached Camp Karan, which was already unoccupied. As you can see clearly, 6th Lancers operations on afternoon of 8th September. As you can see, they reached Waltoha. According to the Indians' account, the independent brigade had already plugged the gaps on both left and right side of 4 Mountain Division, occupying the position in the center. As you can see, this is a more clear picture. As you can see, Indian Army's 3rd Cavalry saves 4th Mountain Division on 8th September 1965. As you can see clearly, this mountain division is occupying the position in the center. 6th Lancer did reach the right flank, but 3rd Cavalry had already reinforced 4 Mountain Division, and there was no question of outflanking 4 Mountain Division. It was, good luck of Indians that the 1st Armored Division commander was so dumb that he had no understanding and nobody tried to. It was possible that the right flank could have been reinforced, but that is conjecture. Now this is 6th Lancer returned to Ligar from Waltoha night 8 September 1965. According to the British doctrine of armored regiments going into the rear after last light for replenishment. And this caused great British failures in North Africa during Operation Crusader also. And it was a big doctrinal failure, but you can't blame the Britishers. The Pakistanis had to be more realistic. I was serving in the armor school and I saw the main tank manual, the troop leading in Armored Corps. I was serving in the tactical wing and I was shocked to note that the troop leading in Armored Corps of Pakistan Army, the manual, was a word by word and line by line copy of the American manual. And the officer who wrote this manual was so dumb that he could not even draw a map. So he actually ditto copied the American map, which was rather, ugly looking map. I will show that map in some future podcast. This, as you can see, Indian deployment on 9 September. As you can see, already, this squadron was here on 9 September. 8 September they had arrived, but in 9 September they were fully in position. So 6 Lancers operations on 9 September. Again, you can see already the Indian squadron was well poised here and there was no chance of, success. Now, notes on 6 Lancers operations. Lieutenant General Mahmood totally missed the fact that returning many miles back to the safety of Rear to Ligar was a British Army teaching that Pakistan Army inherited. Ideally, this teaching was tactically unsound and led to many British reverses. We have clearly seen that the Indians were extremely demoralized on 7th and 8th September. A man with resolution and drive at this stage could have broken through and shattered what remained of the morale of the 4th Indian Mountain Division. We will study in brief to find out whether there was any such man leading the 5 Armored Brigade or not. The 5 Armored Brigade was commanded by one Brigadier Bashir. Brigadier Bashir issued the following orders at 0430 hours on 8 September. 6 Lancers with 1 company motorized infantry to advance along railway line Kasur-Valtoha and capture Valtoha. 24 Cavalry with 1 company motorized infantry to advance along axis Khemkaran-Bhikivind. 1 FF with under command squadron 15 Lancers to advance to on axis Khemkaran-Valtoha and capture the Indian 4 Mountain Division headquarters with the GOC reportedly located at Valtoha. 24 Cavalry initially made good progress and at 14:45 hours overran part of the defended area of 1/9 Gorkha Rifles on main Khemkaran-Bhikivind axis, and at one stage, in words of K.C. Prawal, 1/9 Gorkha Rifles, 9 Jammu and Kashmir Rifles, and the headquarters of 62 Brigade were surrounded. Indian military historian Prawal. Prawal further added that the situation was retrieved by the medium guns and the Deccan Horse, and was honest enough to acknowledge the fact that the standing crops provided good cover for Indian armor. In words of K.C. Prawal, the situation at this stage was that 3rd Cavalry from 2 Armored Brigade intervened and of course saved the 4 Mountain Division. Gurcharan Singh Sandhu was a bit harsh in dealing with 24 Cavalry actions on 8 September. According to Gurcharan Singh, 24 Cavalry was held up at Burha Kunha by a tank squadron of Deccan Horse, and after losing 1 tank did not try to advance. The fact that 24 Cavalry overran part of defended area of 4 Mountain Division, as acknowledged by both Prawal and Harbaksh Singh, means that the unit did reasonably well. According to Shaukat Raza, the 24 Cavalry destroyed 5 Indian tanks but was held up by anti-tank fire. The claim of 5 tanks may be a little exaggerated, but 24 Cavalry surely did something significant on 8 September 1965. 6 Lancers, the only regiment in both the 1st Armored Division and 11th Division, led by a really resolute and energetic commanding officer, commenced its advance at 700 hours, found Khemkaran abandoned after having outflanked it, and immediately resumed advance towards Valtoha railway station, some 8 miles to the east, with just 19 tanks. By 1500 hours, 6 Lancers reached Valtoha railway station, its assigned objective. Here Pakistan Army suffered its first major setback of the war, not because of any fierce resistance on part of the Indians in Valtoha area, but because of conceptual barrenness, which was the hallmark of the character of JCO type commanders like Brigadier Bashir. But Bashir was not an exception. The whole Pakistan Army Tank Corps was like that. Bashir was the only unfortunate one apart from Lamb who was actually tested and failed in Khemkaran battles. Then Captain Asmat Beg Humayun, serving as a staff officer with Brigadier Bashir, painted a picture of an indecisive man chewing pan as he strolled in the evening in the safety of his headquarters in the white pajamas that he wore in the evening. This was 2000 late when I was serving as Assistant Editor, Defense Journal, and Asmat Beg was serving in the same company, SMS. Shaukat Raza, who had extremely limited understanding of armor tactics, did not discuss this point at all in his book. Even Musa, who had limited understanding of any type of warfare, including armor warfare, was perplexed and made the following remarks. Twice in 2 days, 5 Armored Brigade reached Valtoha railway station and Asal Uttar, approximately 12 and 6 miles respectively beyond Khemkaran, but for inexplicable reasons, the brigade commander issued confusing orders on it on both occasions to return to Khemkaran and leaguer there at night instead of arranging to send up motorized infantry to hold the ground his armor had captured. Now, Musa had nothing to say because this was according to the training manuals, the Pakistan Army doctrine. Perhaps Musa never even read them or understood them. Gul Hassan also noted this fact, although 27 years later, no one can say what Gul or another officer would have done in the same circumstances, keeping in view the highly confused interpretations about armored warfare prevalent in the Pakistan Armored Corps then and even as late as 1990s when I was serving in the armor school. At last light, Brigadier Bashir, Commander 5 Armored Brigade, ordered 6 Lancers to abandon all it had gained since 0700 hours and return to Ligar at Khemkaran. The Indian Armored Corps historian noted that the column withdrew to Khemkaran. What had happened was that Bashir thought that tanks were not safe at Valtoha and must be regrouped in the safety of a Ligar formation adopted by an armored regiment or squadron after the battle. Ligar was a conservative British countermeasure adopted after last light to secure tanks against night raids by tank hunting parties. The Germans noted this serious British failing in North Africa, which led to loss of initiative as well as time and space. The Germans, on the contrary, did not adhere to this ridiculously cautious drill or battle procedure but occupied the same area that they had occupied in the day, fight at night. But Bashir was concerned more with safety than the rapid progress of advance and ordered 6 Lancers back to Valtoha. This action of Brigadier Bashir is not just General Musa or Gul Hassan's opinion, but an irrevocable fact and something which may be termed as an open secret which was known to all in the Armored Corps down till rank and file. This conceptually absurd, ridiculous action of Commander 5 Armored Brigade was rightly criticized by Brigadier Gulzar, a respectable Pakistani military authority and one who had nothing to do with the clique of sycophants and pro-establishment historians who wrote most of books on Indo-Pak wars. But Gulzar was from infantry, and his criticism about this Ligar business, though absolutely righteous and valid, required seconding by an armor officer, not by word of mouth but on paper, and we are glad that Gul Hassan did this. Gul Hassan has done justice to history by formally putting it on paper. It may be noted that at this stage, Deccan Horse, apart from tank casualties suffered since 6 September, was short of 9 more tanks of C Squadron Deccan Horse, which had got bogged down in the Dode drain west of Rohinala since 6 September morning and were recovered much later on the evening of 9 September. In brief, as we have discussed earlier, it was delay on part of the Pakistanis in commencement of advance on 7th and 8th September and the resultant intervention of the 2nd Independent Armored Brigade, which saved the situation on 8th September. GOC 4 Mountain Division on the 8th September had requested for more armor, and GOC 11 Corps placed the Corps Reserve, the 2nd Independent Brigade, under the command of 4 Mountain Division. The 2nd Armored Brigade at this time consisted of 3rd Cavalry Centurion and a squadron of 8th Light Cavalry AMX 13. Commander 200 Brigade ordered 3rd Cavalry to move to 4 Mountain Division area of operations at 11 am and tentatively assigned the regiment the task of protecting the flanks of the 4th Mountain Division and providing depth to its anti-tank defense. The 3rd Cavalry moved swiftly, and by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, one squadron of 3rd Cavalry reached 62 Brigade defended area and joined Deccan Horse in anti-tank defense role in 18 Rajput area. This squadron, along with Deccan Horse, as we discussed earlier in this paragraph, played an instrumental role in checking the advance of 24 Cavalry on 8 September. Another squadron of 3rd Cavalry reached Voltoha by afternoon, which was already being partially defended by another squadron from Deccan Horse, and played a decisive role in contesting 6 Lancers' advance beyond Voltoha on 8 September. So it is very clear that there was no chance of outflanking because Pakistanis had missed the boat on 7 September and they had failed to cross in time. So on 8 September, there was no chance that Pakistan's 1st Armored Division could succeed. By the night of 8th 9th September, the remaining elements of the 2nd Armored Brigade, the brigade headquarters, and Squadron 8th Light Cavalry reached the 4th Mountain Division. This ends the part dealing with 6th Lancer, and we will deal with the Guides Cavalry in another section of this book, but more on that later on.